Have you ever wondered how high HyperCycle might go in the upcoming 2025 bullish environment? If so, you're in luck because today I'm going to be taking a look at the charts, trying to anchor in where I think the price action could be going. As I get into this video, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and let's go ahead and take a look at what's going on with HyperCycle. This is a very, very difficult chart. It's a very difficult one to actually kind of do a video on when it comes to price predictions, because the data here, it isn't great, and there's some fundamental things happening that make this a little bit harder to kind of get your head around. Now let's take a look at the kind of past performance here, because I do think that is going to be our best bet at trying to figure out what is going on with HyperCycle and potentially where we think it could go later down the line. Now there's also, as I said earlier, there's some fundamental things that have happened. The team splitting, diverting into two different projects, two different tokens, essentially. And as a result of that, it has led to a little bit of panic in the space. There's a whole host of other things that are going on as well. But let's go ahead and take a look at this at the moment. So we launched this back in May of 2023 to September 2023. There was a 1,000% move to the upside, capitalizing in on a lot of the AI narratives and all of that kind of good stuff. Now, the price action since we did that kind of big move to the upside has come down quite aggressively, and it has come down from the $1.18 level to its most recent low only a couple days ago here at the point of recording, and it was a 92.58% move to the downside. There's a lot of issues that I have with the price analysis from like an Elliott wave perspective when it comes to HyperCycle. There's a low liquidity here, and there's a lot of wicks going on that basically mean that Elliott wave is less accurate and therefore potentially will draw the wrong conclusions. So we want to be very mindful about that. Now, a lot of people might be concerned that there's some kind of impulsive sell-off happening here, and that's kind of like a big ground for concern and why they won't touch it. I will argue that that is not what is going on, because we don't have the correct setup up here to allow for that to come down here. What we could potentially be seeing is a series of corrective yet impulsive patterns that are building neatly into those kind of structures. So what I mean by that is it's possible that there are corrective three-wave patterns that are all bundled together, which is why we don't have the correct setup up here and why we're seeing all of these corrections basically bleed us to the downside. Do I think that the bleeding is over? I do not believe that that is the case just yet, but it does show some remarkable potential, high risk but high reward when it comes to kind of speculative investments, right? So if you kind of park all the fundamental stuff to one side and we start thinking about the tokenomics, where the price has been, the support resistances, and the fact that this has come down so aggressively, the potential for some very lucrative returns becomes, well, a lot more palatable. And what I mean by that is that if you're kind of a degen or looking to kind of find some kind of really high risk, high reward plays, well, HyperCycle might just be that. From a fundamental standpoint, the project still exists, they're still working, the team's changing and adapting, and well, I still see very much a need for what they're trying to deliver. So I'm not thinking the project is dead in any way, but the way that it has come down makes me feel like there's a potential here for high returns, although the risks are very, very high if investor confidence has been shaken. So it's important to do your own research in what is going on from the fundamental side. Now let's go ahead and take a look at some of the previous support levels, specifically over here, that have turned into resistance. So 22 cents to 27 cents was previous support, turned to resistance. Now, we can argue here that there's the potential for this to still come down a little bit more, as I said, right? And that gives us those kind of return potentials. But this video really is about trying to predict out where we think the potential future bullish environment is likely to take, HyperCycle. And for that, we are going to be taking a look at previous resistances, previous support levels, and looking to see whether or not we can break through these barriers and give you kind of an idea as to kind of the scope scope of what would have to happen if we were to kind of see some serious progression to the upside reoccur. Okay, it's not dead. It's just one of those projects that I think is going to have a lot of PR spun around it. Okay, so here are some, well, 4 key areas that we need to be watching out for. And I am, for the purpose of this video, I don't think this is the actual launch because I think this did like 100x or 86x from its TGE. So I don't think this is the actual low point, but I'm going to mark it in here because it has been acting as support and we've most recently lost it. So 5 key areas here. Okay, so when it comes to trying to be price predictions, well, we don't really have some Elliott wave structure here that's going to help us. But what we can do is say, okay, there's going to be some potential for some moves to the upside. And where do I think those resistances and support levels are that are going to be helpful or a bit of a hindrance to us? Okay, so actually just going to draw this one in here as well whilst I see it. So let's say the first one is going to be down here, probably in that kind of initial kind of buy range at the moment, but I suspect we could probably get it for less than 10 cents in the future. But the first one's going to be 10 to 13 cents. Okay, that's going to be your first kind of area for interest to see how the price action reacts. If you can confirm that as support, then we can move on to 15.5 to 18.7 cents. If we can get above this, we'll be back above the 50 EMA, 50 SMA, and arguably even the 200 exponential moving average in due course. Okay, once we get above those areas, the next area of resistance is coming in at 22 to 27 cents. Okay, again, if we can confirm that as support, that's going to catapult us out towards the 37 to 46 cent range. And if we can get past there, then you're talking about the resistances that sit up at 65 to 74 cents. After that, of course, then you are to the double top situation, which was between $1.04 and $1.18. So where do we think the higher probabilities are? Well, I think that there's a high probability wherever the volume has sat historically is the one that's going to react the most. So if we go ahead and throw in the VPVR, this shows you where that volume sits. And it's going to be just above this 200 exponential moving average at the moment, which would put us in and around that kind of 25 cent range. So from our current prices down here, let's just say we take the existing low, what we've most recently had, and we push this out towards where that volume sits, well, it's about a 200% move. But I think that actually we're going to have the ability to move out into these slightly higher ranges if we're able to get past this kind of area, this blockage, right? That would put us more at 300 to 400%. And if we can break through that, it's 600 to 700, and of course 1,000 to 1,200 if we're able to kind of grow up significantly higher. Now, the true rewards actually come in, let me turn the VPVR off, is if we do in fact drop down a little bit lower than 10 cents. If we start coming down to, let's say, 6.6 cents, hypothetically, we'll use all the sixes there, and then we start coming up just to where that 200 exponential moving average is, well, that's now a 300% move. And we have the 500 to 600% move in that slightly higher range, and then basically 800 to 1,000, 1,500 to about 1,600. So you can see that the lower the price goes, the higher the opportunity that sits there. But of course, the challenges still very much remain. Like I say, this is one that I think has high risk, high reward opportunities, but it's one that you need to do your own fundamental research on as to see whether or not you think that the project is going to continue to thrive in the way that it has done before, given all those fundamental changes that are happening right now. But this was a community project, a community have requested me to do a kind of price prediction video based on it. So if I had to pick one of these areas where I was going to be looking at kind of being the kind of main bulk of the price prediction, given all of the unknowns at the moment, I would be conservative by saying 37 to 46 cents, given the fact that the AI narrative is still very much strong. And I do think that this project has got longevity to it. So my conservative will be 37 to 46 cents. However, should things really turn around, well, the sky is the limit, and I do think this one has the potential to push out, or at least it did back in the day, at around $5 or so. And that is really where the high risk, high reward play really does come into its own. But of course, it's just my thoughts and opinions on the data in the charts as I see it. What do you think? You can let me know in the comments down below, or join us in our free Discord server and we can continue the conversations down there. If you found this useful and informative, smash that like button. If you're new, subscribe. And if you haven't done so already, guys, check out that video right there. It's one you probably don't want to miss.